Hello everyone. So today we are here to discuss about live on Route 53. In the previous session, we discussed about theory of Route 53. So today is the part 23 of our TTC webinar AWS Primer series. Now I will hand it over to Jyoti for this session. Jyoti, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Faz. So as Faz mentioned, we'll do a lab on Route 53. So I won't be able to perform end to end for Route 53 because I had to purchase domain and all. So I thought I'll tell you how it's done. Okay, how do you map your existing domain to the AWS and how do you purchase a domain from AWS? But end to end, I won't be able to perform. Okay. So before we start with the lab, a quick walkthrough on what we studied in our previous session. Okay, so on previous session we studied about DNS, which is like domain name server. It helps to map your website name to an IP address. Like for a user, it's very difficult to remember the IP address. Like when we talk about networking, so every device which is connected in the network, they have a IP address, right? But when we are but for a layman or for user, it can become very difficult to remember those IP addresses. Like people are more used to remembering the name or simple English text. Okay, so for that we have DNS. Okay, domain name server. Their whole job is to map your website name to an IP address, right? And we also studied about the type of DNS servers, like you have root name server, authoritative name servers. Okay, and then we also studied about kind of domain you can have. So there are like two kind of domains, which is like a generic one like .com, .org, or a geographic base, for example .uk or .in, right? So now how is that related to Route 53? So even your Route 53, it's a domain name server, right? And it has got mainly 4 functions, which I'll be showing you onto the console itself, right? So what could be like, you can use Route 53 for registering your domain as well. Before Route 53, what were the options for us to register our domain? GoDaddy, Hostinger, Freenom. So these are the sites which helps you to register your domain. Okay, so I'm just showing one of the domain which we have registered using GoDaddy. So the name of that domain is yeah. So we bought this domain for some of our project. So the domain name is curiosity.in. So it would be mapped to a IP address. But whenever user types curiosity.in, DNS would help us to provide that IP address. Okay. So same way I can purchase same domain from AWS using Route 53. So that I'll show you. Then we studied about something known as hosted zone. So you can consider hosted zone as a normal text file which contains all the information about your domain in AWS. So like when you study about DNS, you'll study something which is known as zone file. So hosted zone is very similar to your zone file, which consists of the information about your domain name, right? Then we studied about some of the routing policies, which is there in Route 53, right? So how do you route a traffic? One is simple, wherein, yeah, there is no fixed rule. User would come, enter the website's address. Route 53 would help it to map to any of these servers. Okay. Then we studied about failover. Here health checks are very important. So I'll show you on the console as well, like how this works, right? So here you provide your primary servers and secondary servers. So Route 53, it would do a health check, and whichever is healthy, which out of these two servers, whichever server is healthy, the traffic would be routed to that server. Okay. Then weighted, yeah, again here you can split the traffic, right? So you have got 2 IP addresses, maybe those 2 IP addresses are mapped in a 2 different region, and you can give a weight to it. Okay. Latency, again, like how do you want to route the traffic? So if you want lower latency, or you are okay with higher latency, but you want to serve based on a location. So if you want to serve based on a location, it would be a geolocation routing policies. Okay. And finally, multi-routing policy, wherein you are creating a kind of multiple records, okay, for same domain. See, so let's move to our AWS console. Okay, so type route 53. Okay, so see, I have already created a hosted zone, but let me just delete it, and I'll show you from. And you need to delete this after your exercise, else you'll be charged. Okay, let me just remove other things. Okay, we cannot. Okay, just a second. So what I'm doing is, just before this session, I was practicing on my own. So I had created those hosted zone and I had mapped Route 53 to S3. So I'm just trying to delete all those things. Did you notice one thing? The name of the bucket which I created, it is same as the name of the website. So this is something which is important for us to remember. Similarly, in Route 53 also, you would have seen that the hosted zone I created, even its name was same as the name of the bucket. Okay. Okay, now hopefully I should be able to delete that. Sorry. Okay, this we don't have to delete. If I now go to the hosted zone, this would be deleted. Okay. So today we started from the reverse, like I showed you how to delete things once you are done with your practice. Okay, now we'll start how do you create all those things, and just a little walkthrough on how Route 53 looks like. Okay, so when you search with Route 53, you'll land up on this page. Okay, so here you see these are the 4 things we can perform, right? So somebody asked me in last session, like how can we register our domain, right? So see, this is the option, domain registration. So you can go here and you can purchase a domain. So let me search for this AWS primer. Okay, so now I can check whether this domain is purchased by someone or it's available. Okay, so it says it's available, right? So if I want to buy this, I'll add to the cart. Okay, see, and register for a year. You can specify that, right? And then you can go ahead. Yeah, so here you can specify the domain which you're purchasing. Is it for yourself or for the company? If you say person, see here, you don't see an organization. But if I say it's for company, you see a organization, right? So you need to enter all these details and then you'll do continue. After that, you'll be taken to a payment page and you'll go ahead and do the payment. Once done, this domain name is for you, right? So this is how you can purchase a domain from Route 53. Another way to purchase domain is using registrars like GoDaddy, Freenom, etc. Right? For example, here also if I go AWS primer, right, and you can check, right, is this available? Yeah, so these are available and I can buy this, right? Okay, so when I purchase any domain from these registrars, right, by default, what do you see? These two name servers, like these are the name servers which are provided by GoDaddy, right? Now I'll show you how do you divert the traffic from GoDaddy to Route 53, right? So for that, what you need to do? So there are two ways, right? For example, you're creating your website for the first time. There are two ways to purchase the domain. One is either use these sites like GoDaddy, Freenom, Hostinger, okay? Or second is use AWS 53 to register your domain. So individually we saw both of them. Now, what if your website was already purchased using GoDaddy, right? But now you have moved your application to AWS, right? So now whenever somebody types GoDaddy, I'm sorry, whenever somebody types your website's name, what do you want? Okay, that person would be redirected to GoDaddy, but GoDaddy should redirect that traffic to Route 53. So you need to make some changes, right? So what is that change you need to make? First thing, what you'll do is you'll create a hosted zone, right? The name of this would be same as your website's name, right? For example, here, my website's name is this. If you purchase domain from AWS 53, then you don't have to create this hosted zone. But I am not purchasing the domain from AWS. I already have my domain registered on GoDaddy. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to divert the traffic from GoDaddy to AWS. Okay. So for that, I need to create a hosted zone. This is my, anything you can write. This is, what's wrong? Oh, when I press space, it is coming down. Okay, leave it. Yeah, and this is public hosted zone, right? What does this mean? That anybody can access this from the internet, right? Now I create a hosted zone. What do you see? Two records get created. These are your name servers. Okay, and this is simple SOA. I forgot the full form, but it's like this has information about your domain, right? So this file contains information about your name server. Now what you need to do, you need to copy all these 4 name servers and update it here, right? So you'll say change and enter my own name servers, right? And then this is how you can go ahead and add it. I'm not going to change it. This was just to tell you, like, how do you route your traffic from now GoDaddy to AWS? Okay. Any questions till now before we move to the next part?
No, Jyoti, nothing from my side.
Okay.
There is one message from Tara Gupta, SOA Startup Authority.
Yeah. Thank you, Tara. Yeah, I forgot. I think Tara, you only had this question, like how do you purchase the domain? So I hope you got it now, right? So you can either purchase from Route 53 or you can purchase from GoDaddy, and then you can route your traffic from GoDaddy to Route 53 name server using the step which I mentioned, right? Yeah, so this is first thing. Second is, let's go and see how can you host. Remember when we were studying about S3, so we had studied, we had done a lab, like you can use S3 to host your static website, right? So we'll do the same example. Now what would happen is, if somebody would type this website, right, so the person would see the index file which I have uploaded in my S3, right? So first, let's go ahead and create my S3 bucket. Okay. Again, as I mentioned, I won't be able to perform this end to end, because even if I go ahead and change the domain name server here, this takes 2 to 3 hours to reflect. Like, you'll continue seeing only this, right? And you won't see the page which I'm going to create now. It takes some time. So I'm just going to tell you the steps. You all can go ahead and practice on your own if you want to. But it's like, if you're appearing for any certification, then just being aware about the concepts and doing a little bit of hands around on Route 53 should be enough. Okay. But if you're curious and you want to try uh, performing end to end, you can do that as well. Okay. So again, let me just delete these. Oh, I had already deleted this file. Sure. Okay. So now what I'll do, I'll create a bucket. Yeah. So what did I tell you? The name of the bucket should be same as your domain name. Okay. So my domain name is this. Okay. In which region? Mumbai. And enabled, kind of it, I'm making it public. So these are same steps which we had performed while working on S3. So you guys should be able to relate to it. So I've created a bucket. Now I'll go ahead and upload 2 objects on this bucket. So those 2 objects are simple HTML file. One is index.html and another one is error.html. Okay. Add file. Go ahead and add another file. Okay. And upload. Yeah, this is done. Okay. Now let me see. Yeah, we are making it public. So by public, it means that anybody can access this from the internet. Okay. But we are not going to directly access this bucket using these URLs. Rather, we'll access it through Route 53. Okay. So user would type curiosity.in. So now your Route 53 would redirect your traffic to S3. And now in S3, what we have placed our file index.html. So you'll start seeing the content of that file here. Okay. Yeah. So now let me go ahead and enable this step. Okay. So what the steps means is that you are telling S3 that I'm using this bucket for hosting my static website. So you have to enable this. Okay. Yeah. So now you want to index.html. See, index.html, when everything is good, what is the page you want to show? But in case there is some error, right? What is it that you want to show? So the error page, right? Then we need to give some permissions. So what are those permissions? The bucket policy written in JSON provide access to the objects stored in the bucket. Bucket policies don't apply to object owned by other account. So in simple, we are just going to allow that from the internet, even a user who is not part of this account, which is like normal. If I created my website and I want that Faz and Tara should be able to access my access this bucket. Like, see, from your website request would go to Route 53 and ultimately Route 53 would show you the content of S3. But do you have the permission to see the content of S3 or not? If you won't have, you won't be able to see anything, right? So you need to create some policy. So what is it that you need to add here? Simple, you can go to Google and say S3 bucket policy. Select this option, grant read only permission to an anonymous user. Copy this, come back here and replace this with your bucket name. Okay, so my bucket name is curiosity.n. Okay. So see, till now I haven't done anything fancy. I created a bucket, told AWS that I'm going to use this bucket to host my static website, and gave anonymous user rights to access this the data in this bucket. Okay, and also you can see now, you see this red text which says this bucket is publicly accessible. Okay, now how do I map my route 53 to S3? Okay, because we don't want that user directly come to S3, we want to route it through route 53. Okay, so now let's go to route 53. Right, yeah, so what would we do? We would create a hosted zone, okay, which I had created at the beginning, which was this curiosity.com, .in. Now here I need to create records. So what is the concept of a record? Remember when I was showing you these diagrams, I was telling you, see a record and all those things. So it's here. Record name, like how do you want user to access this? So see, if you do www.curiosity.in, then only you'll be able to route to S3, or you can say when user types info.curiosity.in, then only the person would be routed to this the thing which I'm going to map. Or if you leave it blank, then it would be simple. The moment user would type curiosity.in, your website would be able to resolve the DNS. Okay, it would resolve the website name to an IP address. Okay, now this is simple. And see, if I don't turn on this alias, so what I'm saying, that whenever user would type curiosity.in, please redirect the person to this IP address. Okay, this is random IP address, but originally what would be this IP address? It would be IP address of your EC2 instance, okay, or your web servers, whatever it is. Or I'll say alias. Okay, so when I say alias, you see option like these, right? So now whenever user would type curiosity.in, this would be resolved to S3, or it would be resolved to elastic load balancer. Remember in last session, somebody was asking me, how do you map your route 53 to elastic load balancer? So this is how you do it, right? So what you're saying, this name is not directly corresponding to the IP address of your web server. Rather, it is it is pointing to DNS name of your, what do you say, load balancer, or your it's a alias for global accelerator, or it's a S3 website endpoint. So I have created S3, right? Now region, I created it in Mumbai. See, so what would happen when somebody would type curiosity.in? It would be mapped to this address. It's not mapping to an IP address, rather it is mapping to your S3 bucket. Okay, now you can specify your routing policy. Either it could be simple, or it could be, say, weighted. When it's weighted, then you can specify, okay, 80, if 80%, send it here. I'll tell you like from where do you create a health check and all those things. Or you can say, if there is a failover, So for failover, you need to specify primary IP address or your secondary IP address, which doesn't hold true for S3, right? So for now, I'll do simple routing address and I'll say create. Okay. Yeah. So what do you see? Curiosity.in would be resolved to, or the traffic would be routed to this, right? And this in turn would show you the values which are present in index.html. Only when you go ahead in your GoDaddy website and add these name servers, okay? Which I'm not going to do right away. Yeah. Any questions till now before we move to the next part? Like we are almost done. I just need to give you a little bit of walkthrough around the console. But any questions? I'll take a pause here.
No questions from my side, Jyoti.
Okay. Anything from you, Tara? Okay, cool. So I just wanted to tell you about the failover and all. Okay. How do you set failover? Routing policy. Okay. So go to health check, right? Create a health check, right? You can give it primary, any name, right? And here you can specify any address, right? For now, let me just give some random 173.10.16. Okay, this is some random IP address I'm giving, but you know, right, from where you get these IP addresses, right? When you create your EC2 instance or any other resources, right? So this is first, okay. If you say create alarm, then SNS notification would be sent to you. Okay, so this is my first health check. This is my secondary health check. Either you can say server 1, server 2, and again I'll just give some random values. Say 4. Okay. Yeah, so I've created these two. Now what I'll do, I'll go to hosted zone, create a new hosted zone, just random ttc.com. Okay, create hosted zone. Now create a record. Now you see, right, the moment you create a hosted zone, two things get created: your name servers, which are like these 4, and your SOA. Okay, now I'll go ahead and do create a record. And for example, I choose that I want to map this to a particular IP address. Okay. Okay. Choose the IP address from those two health checks. Okay. And I'll say this needs to be, this is a failover. Okay. So yeah, this is my primary. I'll say here secondary server. So whenever Route 53 would do a health check on this, right? If this is not giving 200 response, it would route the traffic to this failover record type, which is secondary, and in secondary I've specified the IP address. Okay, so this is how you set a routing policy of the type failover. Okay, so what else I can tell you? Register domain, you understood, like how do we register a domain? Pending request. Okay, so if there is any request pending, same way like from GoDaddy to, oh, I see something on the chat. For every policy we need to create a record. For every hosted zone you need to create a record. Okay, so when we say record is kind of that's the main thing which helps you to tell helps Route 53 to find out like for what I need to do for this website name, okay, or for this English name, what is it that I need to do. Okay, so you tell Route 53, okay, if you see any request for so and so site, please redirect the traffic to this IP address, or you say please redirect the traffic to the load balancer, or you say that okay, redirect the traffic to so and so IP address, but if there is any failure, what is the failover server, right? So all these information you are doing it using the records. Okay, yeah. And yeah, this interesting thing. See, this gives you a dramatic, diagrammatic view of the policies or the rules which you are setting. See, it says, oh, DNS request starts from here, then it would check the health check, do a health check. Okay, so it would go to primary. Then in primary also, suppose you would have set certain rules, right? So all these you can visually see how things are happening. Okay. I think yeah, this is it. Yep, yep. So let's go ahead and delete the stuff. See, it's giving you, did you see this unhealthy? So why it's unhealthy? Because I gave some random value. Okay. So let me go ahead and delete this, delete the health check. Or delete the hosted zone, else you'll be charged for it. Oh, I might not be able to delete this because this has been mapped to S3. So I'll go ahead and delete my S3 bucket. So if you guys have any domain handy with you, you can try this. So I've told you both the parts individually, right? I didn't do the final step, which was like going to GoDaddy and updating the name server with the AWS name server, which got created once I went ahead and created a hosted zone, right? Sorry. Now I should be able to. What's wrong? Sorry. I think, okay. I need to delete one more thing here. You need to go inside and delete this mapping. Yeah, so I think they are good. Just checking one final thing, which is billing. Where am I in the billing? Okay, not that much. Yeah. So see, we have done the lab and we have done the theory. So I'll close the session again with just going over the theory so that now you can correlate what we covered in the theory. Okay. And how do we create those rules, right? Yeah. Now you can see, right? So what is my DNS? So it translates your human adapted. See, curiosity.in, that was an English name, right? And finally, it gets mapped to a machine adapted numeric based IP address. Remember, I was giving, when I didn't select alias, that time I was mapping that value curiosity.in to an IP address, right? And we also studied that you can map it to some other alias, which could be your S3, your load balancer, API gateway. Okay. And this diagram shows how actually resolution happens, right? So how does request goes from one server to another server, right? So the final server, which gives you the exact address of your website, we call it as a authoritative uh, name server. So your Route 53 is that authoritative name server. Okay. Then we studied about the functionalities which Route 53 you saw, right? Traffic management, DNS management, you can register your domain. There are so many things you can do. And then domains are also of two kinds, generic and geographic, right? So generic is .com, .org, .net, but geographic could be .uk, .in. Then we studied about hosted. Now you know what exactly is hosted zone, right? So when you purchase any website from Route 53, the name which you mentioned while purchasing the domain, with the same name a hosted zone gets created. But if you already have a website registered using other registrar like your GoDaddy, etc., then you have to manually create a hosted zone, and you have to ensure that the name of hosted zone is same as that of your website. Okay. And what are the two things which gets created when you create a hosted zone? Your name servers, which are 4, and your SOA, right? As Tara mentioned, it is start of authority, right? So what is SOA? It contains information about your hosted zone, and your hosted zone could be public or a private. So when we say public, that means that hosted zone can be accessed from internet. But if it's private, private hosted zone, that means that website name which you are mapping to a IP address, etc., it would be resolved only within the VPC. Okay. Then we studied about the routing policy. So you can have based on it could be simple, right? Wherein whenever request would come, whatever IP address you would have specified, the traffic would go to any of these IP address. Or it could be based on failover. So remember, for failover, health check is very important. So you need to create a record for health check and then map it accordingly and tell which is your primary and which is your non-primary. Okay. Remember, see, for primary, it was non-alias, right? I typed the IP address of the primary server, right? But for secondary, I had to give the name of the health check record, right? Also, you can route the traffic based on the weight, right? Yeah, latency and geographic location. So you've based on like from where the request is coming, you can route your traffic to that region. And finally, multi-value routing policies. Yeah. So this is it all about Route 53, guys. Open for questions. Is it clear?
So it was, yes. Especially when you did mapping, like once again going through the theory, now we are able to correlate more. So now I don't have any question, Jyoti. It was great.
Okay.
So I have allowed speaking option for Tara, so that he can directly ask if he has any questions.
Faz and Jyoti. So no, I also don't have any question right now. I will try this. I haven't any domain, but I will try with that free domain that you show me. And I am just little bit confused, or maybe I'm not getting this, because in security point of view, I see that we have to make S3 bucket private. If what if we make it private? Won't we able to see the website, or what will happen?
Yeah, you won't be able to see when would you create S3 bucket as private? When from your EC2 instance you are trying to access anything, right? For example, there is a log files which you are generating from your EC2 instance and you're storing it in your S3, right? That time you want your S3 to be private. Here what I was doing, I was using S3 for hosting my website, static website. So see, if it's a static website, it would contain things like your CSS, right? Normal, it could be CSS, .html, anything. So there's nothing confidential in that content, right? So what you're doing, you're just telling, if it was private, right? Your Route 53, what it would do, it would map your name to S3 bucket. You'll go to that S3 bucket, but since you don't have a right to see the content of S3 bucket, you won't see anything. You'll see an error. You might see something like site not found or content not found. That's why I had to make it public, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't there be a system where we can give only permission of S3 bucket permission only to that gateway route? Sorry, a route 53. Route
Can
53.
yeah. Let me think. At this moment, I don't have answer for this question, Tara. Probably I can check. Okay, is there any provision? But again, see, what is the role of Route 53? That is helping you to route your traffic to S3, right? So for Route 53, it doesn't matter whether your S3 is public or private, right? It would, a request would come, it would just directly map that to S3, and the work of Route 53 is done, right? After that, whether we have given permission for user to see the content of S3 or not, that is being controlled by making it public or private.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I will also check this. I just thought whether this could be available or not. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Jyoti.
Okay. Okay, guys. Happy weekend then. Enjoy your day.
Yeah, thank you, Jyoti, for this wonderful session. So we will meet again next time with another topic
Yeah.
at the same time. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Happy
Bye.
weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.